Well, that is the Benelli M1014. I stopped for a second because I'm used to calling it the XM1014. Interesting note, the X denotes that it is in the prototype stage. This made it into the hands of the United States Marines, so it just transitioned from the XM1014 to the M1014. Has a similar path, was projected for something like the XM108. I'm sorry, not the XM108. I don't even think that's a real thing. The XM8, which is that goofy looking G36 rifle that never made it into actual military use, so that just stayed the XM8. It's pretty cool. Hopefully they'll add it to this game because I'd love to do a video on that, but I don't want to get sidetracked, so let's talk a little bit more about this gun. Well, let's shoot it and talk, I suppose. Obviously, it is a shotgun. It is a tactical shotgun. There are not a lot of those out there because shotguns are primarily useful for hunting and sporting, shooting fast-moving small things because they have the ability to spread out. Occasionally, they are used for home defense, but a home defense round, which would be suggested like a 00 buckshot like this, you can see if I shoot that tombstone on the left, does not produce much of a spread. So if this was a house, this would be a pretty ginormous room, or this would be a hallway. You can see the spread there is not sufficient for someone who expects to cover an entire wall with a shotgun blast. I would say you'd probably be better off with a handgun, more follow-up shots, controllability, and maneuverability in tight spaces. So let's go around this guy. First up, you saw the collapsible stock. It is not fully collapsible. That's about the shortest length. Doesn't fold either. It doesn't need to be a tube like this because the entire action is situated in front of the trigger area. This is just how they decided to do it. And a cool thing about this collapsing shotgun, or the collapsing stock, is that you may think, well, you wouldn't necessarily want to fire it like this, and this doesn't shorten it down to the point where you are going to be able to carry this easily in a car because it still has that length forward. But one advantage that this collapsing shotgun stock does have is that you can collapse it down just a little bit in case you were wearing body armor, because that body armor is going to puff out your vest or your chest a little bit more with that bulletproof vest or plate carrier. And if you had a fixed stock like on the Benelli M4, which is just the fixed stock variant of this that civilians can buy with a 5-round magazine tube. Getting sidetracked again. I go off on these crazy tangents. But if you had a fixed stock version and you're wearing body armor, you're going to have to hold this out pretty far because your effective shoulder crease is going to be bigger and farther away. So being able to collapse this down a little bit means that you can wear body armor comfortably and get this thing close enough to your chest that you can wield it easily in tight areas and more fluidly as you're used to without shooting it with body armor. So next up, what can we talk about? This is the bolt catch, bolt release. It does lock back when you are empty. It is a useful feature. You can then load it, one in the chamber, close it up, and then a couple more in the tube. This is a 1+7 or a 7+1 shotgun for a total 8-round capacity, meaning that you have 7 in the tube and then 1 in the chamber. So if you ever see that written out for a gun's capacity, like a 1911, it could be written as 7+1. That means you have 7 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber for technically 8 total rounds, assuming you're comfortable carrying with that round in the chamber. So next up, another thing that you will see on this that you don't see on a lot of other shotguns is that it has ghost ring sights with some fiber optics and also a Picatinny rail to mount scopes and whatnot. Obviously, being a tactical shotgun, those are necessities. I love seeing this on shotguns because it's fun, but to be honest, if you are shooting sporting clays or fast-moving targets like skeet and trap, you don't really rely on those sights as much. Acquiring that rear ghost ring is not going to happen. So having a traditional front bead on a sporting shotgun or hunting shotgun is fine. I mean, you could hunt with this if you want. I don't think legally there's an issue in the United States, but it just feels wrong. So next up, since this is the gun that was used by the Marines, you can see it has some United States etching on there, this American flag. And it looks a little bit long, but that's actually the correct government dimensions for the flag, which are not the standard kind of 3x5, which you'll see hanging on people's yards. And interestingly enough, this is actually backwards for the gun, sort of technically, sort of not. this is how you will see it written on websites, on t-shirts, everywhere, with the Union. That's the blue part with white stars in the top left. But in the military, there is actually uniform code which states that on uniforms, the flag should be facing so that the Union, just accidentally hit the magazine or the bolt catch there, the Union should be facing forward. So if this is on me, it would be, if this was on my left shoulder, this would be correct. So it would be kind of like that. And the reason for that is that if you can imagine kind of the origins of the flag and being carried into battle in something like the Revolutionary War, somebody would literally be carrying that on a large pole into battle in lieu of a weapon, just for motivation, along with, I guess, drummers and flutists and whatnot. Is that the correct term for someone who plays the flute? Doesn't matter. But so imagine that guy carrying the flagpole and rushing into battle. That flag would be blowing backwards as if the wind was coming towards you because you're rushing forward. And if it was facing like this, that means that he would be retreating. So you want to keep that Union forward. And if you see this painted on the side of cars or jets, planes, anything, you'll generally see it like this, as though if that's forward, so that, you know, goes along with the direction that you would think that the flag is waving. So, sorry. I love these neat little details, and I'm not sure how much you guys like them. So just let me know in the comments, and I'll adjust accordingly. So I'm going to make sure that I keep these interspersed with some shooting. Now, there's not a lot of spread, but you definitely get some extra confidence with the spread of the 00 buckshot. So next, I want to talk briefly about how this thing functions. It is semi-automatic, as you've seen. You can sort of classify it under automatic shotguns, and that just classifies the action being automatic as opposed to manually operated, like a pump-action shotgun. And this is gas-driven, which is a little bit strange because this is made by Benelli, and they actually pioneered the inertia-driven shotgun, which is a very popular style of sporting shotgun, which is kind of recoil operated. This one being gas operated actually functions pretty similarly to that VZ58, which I did a video on, which looks kind of like the AK, because there is a gas block up in here, wherein when you fire it, gases expand, some of the gases shoot into the gas block. There's a piston here, and it pushes the piston backwards, that expanding gas, which pushes 2 rods backwards. And that little just jab, I keep hitting that by accident, that little jab of the rod from the expanding gases will force that bolt backwards, and the momentum of the bolt keeps it moving. Ejects the old round, cycles a new round in. So this one being not recoil, gas driven, that short stroke piston gas system, was made to be super reliable, and the Marines found that to be true because in their trials they found this one to be the most reliable and have the highest mean rounds before failure. I think that's the acronym. I might be a little bit off on that one, but essentially it fires the most rounds on average before having to have a malfunction, something catastrophic like I don't know, getting in there and having to use a tool. One more. See if we can get both of those. Yeah, both. What are those called? They're not bottles. Pots. What is wrong with me? Man, I must have put more in than I thought. Okay, there we go. That's all the buckshot for now. And let's move on to some of the other shells, the other 12 gauge shells. This is 12 gauge shotgun, don't know if I mentioned. So the one we've been firing is that 00 buckshot. It has about 10 or 12 pellets you can see on there that spread reasonably well. Now, if you move up in size, or number of pellets rather, so you go from 00 buckshot to like number 4, and then all the way up to birdshot, which has upwards of like 120 pellets, you actually maintain the same weight of pellets. So these 12 or so, 10 to 12, have the same weight, so they're just larger pellets than the super tiny birdshot pellets. But that overall weight is the same and has to do with like the gauging, and we'll go into the mathematics of how gauges work in ounces of lead and charge and whatnot. But, you know, I got to space out this crazy amount of annoying information that I want to give you guys. So the next round we're going to talk about is this green one, which is a slug. You can see it in there. On these, the end is crimped. And a funny note about the crimping, you'll find that these 12 gauge shells are available in different lengths. And that length is actually the total length with the shell fired. So let's get rid of this guy and see if this actually undoes the crimping. Oh gosh. Let's go grab that. It does a little bit. Let's see if it's actually longer though. Oh darn it, where'd it go? You have to do it again. No worries, don't mind firing it. Try this lefty. Okay, hasn't gone too far. Oh, all right, well that's on the ground now. A little bit, so you can see that the edges, oh gosh, I guess they disappear for resources, but you can see the edges flared out. And that's important when you determine what kind of round a gun can fire, because there is a maximum length of shell that it can fire because there is a chamber in there. But more technical mumbo jumbo you guys don't need. So let's move on to some shells. Not shells, these are all shells, some slugs. These are occasionally referred to as deer slugs because they are used to hunt large game like deer and above. If I shoot this here, you can see that is just shooting that single gigantic slug. And we can use this to reach out a little bit farther to that red plate. These ghost ring sights make things easy, but in order to make it even easier, I'm going to throw on an EOTech hollow sight. Pretty good. This is one of my favorite sights, and I think it looks pretty good on here, that short version. I accidentally keep grabbing that. Let's try and take out some of these. Ooh, got him right in the head. That guy's pretty far. Woohoo, got him. And that's the end of that. So, moving on to the next shell, we have Dragon's Breath. Actually, I wanted to surprise you guys with it. But unless you know what Dragon's Breath is, you may still be surprised. Here we go. So you can see it is just like a sparkler fireworks light show. And this is a real round. It's actually just a novelty round, something that you can buy just to shoot at night and have fun. It's really cool if you have a camera that can do longer exposure, and it just looks like your gun's spitting out these lines of fire. And it's really, as I said, a novelty round just for fun. It's, I wouldn't say not dangerous, but at the same time, I would say it's not lethal. You don't want to use it or try to use it to hurt someone. That being said, you know, this is just a round full of these little metal filings that, I don't know what the word for it is. They kind of just catch fire because they're moving quickly, kind of like a tracer round, just that heat of the gases passing quickly over that material cause it to ignite and give off that bright light. But you will notice me cycling this manually, which is easy to do because this thing has a very nice bolt lever there, bolt handle. And that is important because being a tactical shotgun, it needs to have a lot of versatility. And one of the things that you need to do is fire specialty rounds out of this, like a door breaching round or something like a beanbag round. And those don't necessarily have the charge, the oomph, the powder in there to push this piston back and cycle that bolt entirely. So it does leave you the ability to cycle that easily with this side bolt handle, but at the same time, it's not as easy as having a pump action shotgun. So being, let me drop that. That was weird. So being a tube-fed shotgun, it does give you that versatility in how you load it as well. So let's say we're going to have to clear a building and we want to have our door breaching rounds, but then we want to be ready to go to help out our buddies as they're clearing their way through the building. So what we can do is we can make sure that is closed. We can load up some buckshot here. That's 3, 4, 5, 6. And then, oh no, I destroyed my pot. Well, doesn't matter. I'm just pretending that this Dragon's Breath is a door breaching round. So we have 7. Let's get one of those in the chamber. And 8. Put it on safe. Get ready to go. Trying to breach some sort of building. We have to blow the lock out. So what you would do is you would jam the front of this kind of in the door jamb near the lock, and you're really just using the force of this to blow that lock outwards and just obliterate it. So you throw that in there, fire it. Let's say it worked on the first time. We could cycle that, get rid of the next door breaching round, and then we'd be ready to go. So if this were mag-fed, sure, you could get more rounds off more quickly. I mean, actually, technically, this is magazine-fed. The definition for magazine is anything that a space to hold cartridges, and a tube would qualify, but I prefer to just call this tube-fed as opposed to magazine-fed, because then you have a distinction between the two. So being tube-fed, this gives you a little bit more versatility in choosing rounds and removing them so that you can go one by one, load up the next one, be ready to go, and just have that option. The last round that we have has a little American flag on there, I guess to match the receiver, and this is Freedom Fetty, which, as far as I'm aware, is not a real thing. Would probably be easy to make, to be honest, aside from that little surprise kazoo noise. See if we can hit something here. See if it actually leaves a mark. Oh, it does. Does it have a slug in there too? Try and hit that green plate. Nope. Maybe that's just the wad. So within these, there is something that's called the wad. They're generally plastic, and they hold in the back of the lead shot. So it is sort of a backing so that the powder hits against the back of the wad and propels the lead shot out the front. Sometimes you'll see that just kind of go off maybe 30 yards and then tail off. But I don't know if that's what that is. Maybe it is. You can see something white comes out of there. Would be cool if they included that, because it's a neat little shotgun thing that a lot of people may not know who don't fire shotguns. So lastly, let's grab this scope and try and go out all the way to that red plate at whatever it is, 200 or so yards. Let's load up just 8. Sounds like I accidentally closed that bolt. Ah, I'm destroying my pots. I wish there was some sort of actual container I could use in here. I had to make do with these crazy guys. Well, since we're here, I'm just going to get my revenge on these remaining pots. My computer really slowed down on that one. I guess it didn't like handling the physics of all those little shells in there. So now that we have our scope, let's see what it's on right now. 3 times magnification. Go out all the way there. Oh, that's not going to work. I want to see the rust on that plate. I got to find it first. Damn. Oh, there it is. Whew, pretty good. Now in reality, wait, what am I shooting here? Am I actually, was I shooting buckshot at that? Buckshot would definitely not make it all the way there. Gotta be on top what you're doing. Yeah, I was shooting buckshot, huh? I really wanted to just be shooting slugs out there. But I guess, you know, that works too. Now let's see if this is easier or harder. Wow, you can see that scope just bouncing around when you have that super high magnification. You're firing from the shoulder. Even in real life, that's kind of frustrating. You got to be shooting prone or have a bench or a bipod. But having this with a bipod, I think, would just be a little bit too ridiculous. So there we go. We're doing pretty awesome with the M1014, kind of also the Benelli M4, which we talked about earlier. Very similar. Any more hot dogs left? Ooh, there's one there. And then we'll end on his demise. There you are. Ooh, perfect shot. Blew that helmet right off of that hot dog. So, Benelli, the cool Marines tactical shotgun that has proven itself over and over again for being a reliable shotgun. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I want to compel you guys to comment and let me know what you guys like about what I'm doing and what you think I can change. Additionally, if you have any guns that you would like to see, I'm planning on trying to do all of them in the game, although they're adding them faster than I make videos. So if you have something that you want to see, you can just suggest it and move that to the front of the line, and I'll try and get a video out on that. But again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next video.